name is Rosita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're studying Saturnastra Melina. Melina Sore, Countess of Sassari by James Jean Drummond. Like, that's just a fake author, but it's really bad. That's just a fake author because the book is reading from the perspective of one of the people that live in the world, you know? It's like you know how Don Quixote was, even though Cervantes wrote it, there's an inn world writer named Cide Amante. It's some nonsense like that. Alright. So let's just get started on it already. Now that you understand how the narration is gonna work. Chapter 1. I was ransacking through the personal effects of my dearly departed grandfather, and among his personal effects I found several crumbling letters, a scarf, and a small portrait, and the small portrait was simply titled Melina Sore. Melina was a famous heroine, and she was one of the generals who led an army of knights who finally defeated Bersame. And it had been 35 years since Bersame had been slain, and the tales of Melina's heroism circled far and wide. And her supporters claimed she was heaven sent, and those who were defeated by her military might paint her in the ugliest of colors. Just who was Melina Sore? And to solve this mystery, I traveled to the former capital of Veragero. And as of now, the capital was being managed by a strange group of knights who called themselves the Knights of the Realm. And in younger times, I was told that this was the capital safeguarded by dragons. And it was an architectural masterpiece, and the capital now is twice as small, and during my journey I saw the old decaying towers and the ruined battlements. Surprisingly, the castle was still in one piece, and my grandfather had told me that the looters had tried to burn the palace to the ground, and although the pieces within had a strange resilience to them, and as such the castle of Bersame was still in one piece. And although the items that had been stolen were soon afterwards returned due to some strange superstition. And the local folk claimed that the castle was haunted, and it was within this castle where I hoped to find my answers, and after pleading with the knights, I was allowed into the fifth tower. And it took a bit of coins, but I was able to search the archives, and Bersame kept lengthy record of all of the financial transactions of his empire. And through these records, I was hoped to find some official document pertaining to Melina's life. And while searching, I was shocked to find a record of a slave purchase of a maiden named Melina. And Melina was a unique name, and it had become more commonplace as of late due to Melina Sore's fame. And in the record there was a faded etching attached to the sales information showing Melina in all of her youthful elegance. There was no doubt the slave Melina was the same as Melina Sore, and from my grandfather's portrait. And this record dated 25 years ago, and keeping this in mind, I was able to narrow down my search, and I spoke with living veterans of the Great War. And although the soldiers held strong opinions about her, and a good number of the knights claimed to be her one and only true love, an important contribution to the story came from the berserker Countess Elaine. And at the age of 75, she had sound mind and judgment and sublime temperament to match. And at the time she had served as the lady-in-waiting of the Mad Queen of Veragero. And during her 10 years in the service of the Queen, she had plenty of contact with La Divina's clan and their network of concubine spies, and a concubine named Melina Sore rose to prominence during her last 2 years in court. And according to the Countess, Melina Sore spent most of her early life in Sassari, and Sassari was one of the few feudos to escape the ravages of war. And part of the problem lay in getting to the city, and bandits had taken a residence near the abandoned towers and forts surrounding the city, and as such traveling there was rather dangerous, and I was about to give up on the journey altogether when a chance encounter provided me the opportunity to safely travel to Sassari and back again. And when I arrived in town, I was surprised by the people's obliviousness of Melina Sore's existence, and most did not even seem to know the name of their illustrious general. And little by little, I was able to uncover the mystery of Melina and the strange power she had over the people of Sassari. And it wasn't that the residents of Sassari did not know Melina. Rather, they were greedily guarding her secrets with the same fervor akin to a cult. They said, we don't know Melina. I said, yes, we know Melina, but you're an outsider, and we won't tell you about her. Something like that. It took much persuasion, money, and liquor to get the first-hand anecdotes on Melina Sore's early life, and much of the contribution came from Francesca Dasrimi, and she was a gentle 65-year-old lady of questionable background, and she spent most of her time grieving for her lost mistress, and indeed Melina Sore had disappeared 30 years ago, and there were no records of her death, and some even speculated that she had been taken to the lands of Albion of the North, and Lady Francesca was Melina's lady-in-waiting for most of her early life. And like me, she had done research on Melina's true identity, and her work, though earlier, was a bit superficial, and it focused on hearsays, and it did contain some lurid and bizarre details on Melina's private life. So to Francesca's work, I was able to get a superficial list of names of people who knew and had spoken to Melina, and this list not only included nobles, but servants who worked under her, and she even directed me to the local slave driver who had actually purchased Melina. And Senor Dauphin was quite a kind speaker and after a few gallons of mead, and he was quite proud of his profession and his ability to scout talent, and I frankly find the idea of slavery abominable, and I could hardly believe that slavery was so common only 50 years ago, and Senor Dauphin had an auspicious memory which only became more poignant the more mead he drank, oddly enough. And he had acquired Melina 50 years ago, and from all of whom I had spoken to, he was the one person who had the earliest record of Melina's existence, and he directed me to the forest where we had actually found her living among the nymphs. And the forest was a few miles away from Sassari, and in yonder days it had been a safe haven for nymphs, and as of late nymphs had become quite uncommon, and they shunned human company as if humans were carriers of the plague, and because of their beauty, I was told that it wasn't too uncommon for humans to enslave them. And I searched the forest for days, and like I had expected, I did not run into a single nymph. However, I was able to understand the surroundings which helped in the foundation of Melina's character. And aside from the slave driver, I also had the chance to speak with one of Melina's old customers, and a good number of them had already expired, and others were too ashamed to speak the truth. And the most colorful accounts came from Lucrecia la Divina, and she belonged to la Divina clan, and she had nothing but bizarre tales to say about Melina's sorrow. And through her, I was able to speak with the households whose lives had been ruined because of Melina. And I was also able to discover the whereabouts of Melina's self-proclaimed husband, and Melina's husband was at first hesitant to speak to me. And in time, I was also able to get the information I required, as well as a few bizarre anecdotes. And the husband was also in possession of Melina's journal. And the journal proved to be useless as it was written in an incomprehensible language. And at first I thought the journal was a spell book, and I traveled to see Venus Magic School in Veragheron to have it translated. And the wizards there assured me that the journal was not written in magic, and one of the wizards in school offered to translate the book for me for a modest fee. And Mulder's translation of the diary was not very helpful, and the journal had a series of to-do lists. And the list included food items that Melina liked to smell and favorite perfume and words she liked. It also lists the names of people and the number beside them. And the same was done with words, and from time to time there were drawings of stick figures, and there were other sections that had genuine gibberish about them. And after 2 years, I am proud to present the fruition of my investigation. Though this book, I hope to dispel some of the amazing facts about Melina, and I also brought to bring to light some of the peculiarities and bizarre facts about her. And as for now, this is a work in progress, and even now, with the arrival of an additional information pertaining to the odd life of Melina Soter, and I am still to unravel her mysterious disappearance. Time, bro?
15 minutes, 30 seconds. Also, you have a notebook just like that, like back there.
It was a cold sunny afternoon in the slave market of Aragon, and Aragon was a city at the foot of the large mountain, and the mountain had twin waterfalls and twin rivers, and their source could be seen behind a large looming castle, and the city was old. As such, most of the buildings were overgrown and a good number dilapidated, and the newer construction were closer to the center of the city, especially in the marketplace, and the slave market was located at the foot of the Dragon Tower, and the tower had a gigantic proportions, and from its height one could even look down upon the castle, and its walls had a carved dragon relief, and it was rare for Aragon to have a day without any rain, and the people were taking this rare chance to peel for their wares before the eventual rain would come to make business intolerable, and whenever it rained, the city obtained a musky, dank, pungent smell, like that of a rotting carcass. Just imagine, every time it rains, it's like, ah. It rains like a rotting, like a zombie. A throng of people were gathering around the Dragon Tower, the center of the city, and by law, all mercantilism had to be done under the watchful eye of this looming tower, and even the indoor shops had to face this dragon, and according to the old records, the Dragon Tower was composed of a regular tower with a petrified dragon coiling around him, and Senor Dauphin was giving a last-minute perusal to his merchandise, and the local slave driver had managed to capture a wild nymph, And the nymphs had a elusive nature, and even on horseback, it was almost impossible to catch one, especially within the forest. And he had caught this one when she was sleeping, and aside from the nymph, he was selling his third cousin, a few offspring for his household slave elves, and a few street urchins who had been sold into slavery by families who had gambling issues. His inventory was chained together except for the little nymphs, and she was currently sitting down beside the other slaves, and she was wrapped from head to toe in a clean white robe, and the robes had decorated golden borders around it, and the decorations bore the semblance of a type of cursive script, though if read it was simply gibberish. And the Fall gave his slave a last-minute mouthwash and perfume, and he nodded when he felt confident about their presentation. And the slave market was a sort of auction, and to maintain order and fairness, all of the slave owners were given a number at random, and this number determined their turn to sell. And each slave owner was only allowed to sell 10 groupies, and for brevity's sake, each slave owner sold them in bulks, and those with finer finds or those with few slaves sold them individually. And Dauphin belonged to the latter, and he specialized in selling children. And Dauphin was growing a bit nervous with the passing of time, and the sales in the market were taking longer than usual, and by sunset his turn had finally come, and he almost dreaded having to do the line again to pick a turn for the following day. And on top of everything, most of the nobles purchasing the slaves have already left. And he sold his first 9 groupings for a fair price, and he hoped to make his true profit by selling his final slave. And Dauphin had carried his nymph slave on top of the wooden stage, and her mother's attire made it impossible for any of the auctioneers to get a good look at her. And Dauphin did this as part of the surprise. As usual, I saved the best for last, said Dauphin, pointing with his whip. The crowd whispered among each other with a mixture of disdain and curiosity. This rare gem is an impede maiden, and she was acquired in the Crooked Forest. Her age is estimated between 3 and 10, and she has all her teeth, and her mouth smells a bit like peppermint, and she has quite the docile personality, even though she has the bad habit of daydreaming, said Dauphin. And Dauphin removed the nymph's robes to show her in all of her youthful splendor, and she had the figure of a 12 or 14-year-old maiden, and is fully mature at the age of 5. And Dauphin had previously noted a strange oddity in the girl, and nymphs, like most humanoids, had body hair, and this nymph had no carpet leg hair or even the small suggestion of a facial mustache. This is like, oh, that's weird. Time, bro?
11.
At first, Dauphin believed that the nymph had shaved it off, and shaving had been trendy as of late, but it didn't make any sense considering that she came from the woods. And after 2 weeks, he noticed that no new hair had grown back, and another oddity was the nymph's eye colors, and normally all nymphs' eyes change color depending on their emotions, and the passivity and bored expression of this nymph triggered gray-colored eyes, and her eye color was never gray nor black, and Dauphin kept this interesting fact to himself. All that mattered was the visible beauty of his blonde slave. And Dauphin showed the nymph girl front and back, and during this proceeding, the nymph girl kept staring at the ground. And this faint shyness was useful for Dauphin, and a night asked Dauphin, "Does she know any tricks?" "I don't know. She does have a lovely singing voice," said Dauphin, putting the rose back on the nymph. And then I was getting chilly, and he did not like the prospect of selling a girl with a fever. And Dauphin made a gesture to the girl and said, "Sing something, anything." Dauphin could not remember exactly what the nymph sang, and the song had been sung in a foreign tongue, and all that he remembered was that it was a catchy tune about a lady named Melina. And it was thanks to this song that Melina's new owner had given her that name. And during the final negotiation, the stupid song had greatly devalued Melina. And Melina's new owners were 2 scoutmasters for one of the courtesan guilds. And the scoutmasters typically wore black noble attires and brown traveling coats, and the work was often more as a uniform than anything else. And prostitutes and courtesans had undergone a process of professionalism during the course of 100 years, and some courtesan and prostitution guilds had state subsidies, and historians believe this professionalism came as a result of the kingship of Bersamin, and King Bersamin was famous for using high-priced courtesans for keeping tabs on his enemies. And the scoutmasters paid with banknotes, though banknotes were genuine. The fans suspected that the scoutmasters were simply using a pseudonym. and the final negotiations were done within a nearby notary's office. And his offices were located all over the city, and there was always at least two near the market. And the notary was related to Dauphin, and as such he always did business with him. And one of Melina's owners said to the notary, "Do you have a tattoo kit?" "Yes, why do you ask?" inquired the notary. "Instead of traditional branding, we would like a simple tattoo. It is an aesthetic choice of our host, of our master," explained the scout. I have quite a small brands. And if you worry about scouring the merchandise in the notary, bringing out different brands of different shapes and sizes, oh, for the love of me, just find the tattoo kit, and we will compensate you for the time you waste on it, snapped the second scout. Melina said, "Tattoos are so ugly. If I wanted to run away, I would have done so, and there's no need to brand me." "Who said you could tag?" said Dauphin, slapping Melina in the back of her head. "Damn you, you're not the boss of me, and these fine gentlemen are not the boss, so you have no earthly business scolding me," yelled Melina. Dauphin was about to whip her when one of the scoutmasters stood in the way, and he said to Dauphin, "The girl has a point. We own her now, and as such, the duty to reprimand her falls on us." "Well, don't you stand there. Do something about that sassy mouth," demanded Dauphin. "Slave or not, we will strike you down if you raise a hand against her," warned one of the scouts. Dauphin laughed heartily when he realized that the scoutmasters were actually in fact nice, and he found the knight's hypocrisy quite laughable, and knowing full well that he could not reason with their kind and their stupidity, Dauphin moderated his temper. It's like they're nice or are supposed to stand up for like females and damsels in distress, but yet the knight bought a female slave. Oh, the hypocrisy! Oh, don't hurt her. You get it, right?
Don't hurt her. Only we are allowed to hurt her.
Oh, the hypocrisy! But yeah. The notary eventually found the tattooing instruments, and one of the scouts brought a sketch of a 7-sun rose. And the tattoo was done with a needle and black ink, and normally girls would make a big fuss about the tattooing process. Melina seemed bored and a bit sleepy.
Is she like an high level power or just
No, just a very bored one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she doesn't feel pain then?
No, she doesn't feel it, but she did not even budge despite being clumsily tattooed on her back, and the tattoo was placed a few inches down her neck, like here in the back of the head. The flower was only 4 centimeters in diameter. And when the tattoo was done, the narrator rubbed some alcohol to clean the wound, and then he put it on some cotton over it to keep it in place with pressure-sensitive tape. And Melina got up and said, "Can we go now?" "What's the rush? Don't you want to eat dinner first?" inquired the notary. "I'm not hungry. Can we go now?" insisted Melina. "I believe we have already extended our walk now that our business is concluded, and it is best we went on our way," said one of the scouts, bowing. And Melina ran for the door, and one of the scouts brought her past, and she said, "I thought you said we were leaving." "Oh, for a moment I thought you were running away," said the scout, opening the door for her. "Poof! For a moment I thought you were smart, like that old geezer," said Melina, pointing to Dauphin. "If I wanted to escape, I would have done so." And Dauphin watched the scouts would bring their horses around, and one rode with Melina sitting at the front, and the two others followed behind. And they were lost from sight, Dauphin breathing a sigh of relief. And the notary said to Dauphin, "That girl you sold to them was a real lemon." "It's out of my hand now," said Dauphin, dusting off his ear. "The tattoo was painted on, by the way," said the notary. "Oh, really? You surprised me, cousin," said Dauphin. "I wasn't doing that to be evil or nothing. Rather, each time I started the tattoo, it faded away. And that girl's got some weird skin disease or something," said the notary, frowning. "Time, bro?"
4 minutes, 30 seconds.
I wouldn't go so far as to say she's diseased. Her skin could just be naturally weird," said Dauphin. "Whatever she is, you got her sold for the price of a nymph. A devalued nymph, mind you, but a nymph nonetheless." And he added, "So where's my cut?" "Here, and now you shut up about it," said Dauphin, showing the banknotes in the notary's face. "What's up with you?" protested the notary. "I got that stupid song still stuck in my head," said Dauphin in anger. "Time, bro?"
4 minutes.
Melina traveled with his scout for 1 month, and the main roads in the others were a lot safer. And patrols of the Berserker used to sweep the main roads once a week, and anyone caught without a travel permit was severely punished or worse. And travel permits were obtained for a modest fee based on the income level, and the merchants were exempted from paying the fee, seeing as though their travels were beneficial for the economy. And during the first week, the scouts were tense, and they only exchanged words with one another, and they also watched Melina like a hawk eyeing his prey. And things changed when Melina confronted them on this matter, and she said to the first scoutmaster, "Boris the Younger, I find your company most dreadful, and I was hoping this trip would be fun." "Who told you my true name?" said Boris, taken aback, and his companion was not paying attention as he was setting up camp. "A little fairy told me." "Well, that's beside the point. And what is your problem?" said Melina, narrowing her eyes. They had a particular cyan color that night. And the other scout, who was half listening to the conversation, said, "Listen, girl, we are just trying to do our job, and your whining is not making it easier, so sit still and shut up, or we're going to give you a whipping." "Why?" whined Melina. "Because you are misbehaving," complained Boris. "How exactly am I acting out?" asked Melina. "Do tell me, just how do you want me to behave?" "I want you to shut up," said the scout. Melina folded her arms and sat on a log, and she stayed quiet for a few minutes. She then narrowed her eyes and gave Boris a smile that penetrated his very, very core. And Boris turned his back on Melina to avoid seeing her creepy smile. He had a bad feeling about her, and his attention was quickly distracted by the elements around him. And there was a looming storm overhead, and Boris dreaded the howling of the wolves that were approaching ever so slightly. And to make matters worse, the fire was not starting, and the horses trembled with excitement, and the two were sensing something was amiss. And Melina was the only person in camp in a good mood, and she kept keeping out dirt and leaves with her bare feet, and her hands were eventually found a fallen piece of timber that was quite light and flexible. Alright, so let's just leave it here. Bye bye and God bless.